What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Season 1 draft recap for W.A.I.L.O.R.D, or the wonderful amateur Invitational League of Ridiculous Drafts. This is a Tier 3 and below league run by my friend Jed, and Austin, Dom, and I all help out in moderation and things like that. We are bringing back the Ladner Lanturn, as we always do. I did try out Clone of Crocodiles for one league, and I ended up scrapping that idea, so we're going to stick with the one brand for now. I think it's a lot easier for me, especially for my uploads. Yeah, Tier 3 and below league, it's not the same as P4G necessarily, although that's where the idea did come from. In P4G, you had two tiers. You had the NFE tier, which you had to choose 2 mons from, and the regular tier, which you had to choose 9 mons from. In this league, there is a Tier 3, Tier 4, and Tier 5. You had to pick 2 Tier 3s, 2 Tier 4s, 2 Tier 5s, and then you had 4 free picks. Yeah. Is that right? 4 free picks? 5 free picks? 5 free picks, I think. 5 free picks. No, you had to pick 3 Tier 5s. That's what it was. 3 Tier 5s and 4 free picks. And I think we had 300 free points to work with, and then Z users cost different free points. So if you wanted to declare Tier 3 as a Z user, it costs you 20 free points. If you wanted to declare Tier 4 as a Z user, it costs you 10. And all Tier 5s are allowed free Z use. I'm not entirely sure on the rest of the rules. I'll have to look it up a little bit later on what Z moves are banned and things like that. Obviously, you don't have to throw in Medium Z into that list because it's Tier 3 and below league. And yeah, so let's get right into things. I was the 9th overall pick, and I ended up grabbing Darmanitan with my first pick. I was sniped on Metagross right off the bat. I really wanted Metagross, but it's a very contested pick in this format, obviously. Steel types are few and far between in Tier 3 below, and so that's where it ends up. However, bulky waters are also few and far between, and Darmanitan pretty much has no switch-ins in this format. I'm really excited to bring back Forceful to the squad. Sheer Force Burst boosted Flare Blitzes destroy things, and you don't actually have to run a Scarf every single game because the speed tiers of these mons are fairly slow in this league, actually. Darmanitan is pretty much a beast, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm able to run like Banded Darmanitan at some point this season, which again has zero. I mean, Banded Darmanitan, don't get me wrong, it has 0 switch-ins in the first place, but it's just gonna plow through teams in this league. Yeah, so we start off with, a few core weaknesses on the Darmanitan. Being a fire type, it's not very well balanced type-wise, although it's not an electric type, which only has the one weakness. So heading in around 2, I ended up grabbing another monster in this format in Yanmega. Speed Boost Yanmega is scary. Tinted Lens Yanmega is even more scary. Again, it's the same speed tier, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm not going to pass up Yanmega when it's just sitting there for me in round 2. I genuinely think this is a round 1 pick, potentially even high round 1 in this format. It is just such a beast. Tinted Lens Bug Buzzes, again, no switch-ins. So at the moment, I have 2 things with no switch-ins to them. Yanmega, the things that would switch into Yanmega are pretty much steel types and maybe flying types, but Darmanitan checks these steel types pretty much exclusively, so that's pretty good for me, although I am building up a little bit of a rock weakness here with the Yanmega and the Darmanitan. Excuse my yawn. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked to be using Yanmega. It's actually frailer on the special side than the physical side, so it can tank those fighting hits as well, which is pretty cool. It's a 4 times resist to fighting. And yeah, Yanmega is just a monster, so is Darmanitan. So going around 3, I ended up grabbing something as well in the Rotom-Mow. I needed some removal to get rid of those rocks, and I wanted a grass type as well. Rotom-Mow sort of covers Darmanitan's water weakness, being that Rotom-Mow checks water types extremely well, and I also think it's an extremely good defogger. Having a defogger that's not weak to rocks is always fantastic. Things like Superior, things like Rotom-Mow are sort of at the top of my list for that role. Same with Mew, but obviously that's neither of those are available, so Rotom-Mow is the next best option. This sitting in round 3 is like a little bit ridiculous to me, and I picked it up instantly. I'm not gonna lie. Very good mon. Bring it back alongside the Darmanitan. Those two formed a really good pairing on my NCL Season 1 team, and so I like that. It's a little bit slower than both of them, but it's a lot bulkier than both of them, and it's a Levitate user, so it dodges the ground attacks with Darmanitan as well. So I have 2 ground switch-ins now in Rotom-Mow and Yanmega for Darmanitan, and I have a rock get rid of hazard removal. Excuse me, a hazard removal option not named Yanmega. Also, my favorite thing is momentum All three of these picks get momentum moves: Darmanitan, Yanmega, and U-Turn, and Rotom-Mow and Volt Switch. Really excited about that. I think that's it's going to be solid momentum core going on here. Round 4, I end up picking up Slurpuff. Slurpuff is probably the best fairy in this format. I would argue that it's easily the best fairy in this format, actually. We did ban quite a few things, like the Nidos were banned as well, so it was a little bit less things to choose from, and Slurpuff is disgusting. So grabbing a Sticky Webber for this team is also incredibly amazing, but having an Unburden Sweeper that outspeeds the entire format is also pretty much incredible. I love Slurpuff. I've never actually tried it before. I've used it a few times in RU. I think it's an RU, maybe NU. I think I've used it a few times in NU, and it's a pretty solid mon. Very balanced Pokemon. Doesn't have a ton of stats that like stand out as being bad. It's got some really good coverage options. Can be a Calm Mind Sweeper as well as a Belly Drum Sweeper. So yeah, I think Slurpuff is a pretty solid pick for the team. Again, Webs was kind of what I was going for, especially with the Fairy typing. Pretty decent option there. I do have some good Steel Switch-ins in Rotom-Mow and Darmanitan already, so I'm not too worried about that. In terms of Poison, I probably need to patch up the Poison weakness a little bit later on, but I might do that. I can't remember actually if I get that done or not. Round 5, I ended up picking up my first rocker in the draft in Seismitoad, Tom Kench. So if you don't know, Tom Kench is a champion in League of Legends, and which is one of my favorite games, and Seismitoad reminds me a lot of Tom Kench. So, Seismitoad, another balanced attacker. I've used Seismitoad once before in DBA Season 1, which I should have uploaded, but it didn't. And, oh well. That's kind of behind the times. Now that League ended like 4 months ago. 3 months ago. That League ended 3 months ago. Seismitoad is another water switch-in for Swampert, getting Water Absorb, which is really cool. It's a resist to something. It's another fire resist for Yanmega and Rotom-Mow, actually, which I was kind of building up a weakness to there. There is a Rain Team, I think, so Swift can probably come in clutch. Poison Touch is kind of a neat ability. Seismitoad's actually a really cool attacker in terms of the way that it uses its movesets. You can run it mixed, you can run it... it's pretty balanced in the orders that you can run it. It's a little bit slow. Again, my team's sort of slow. Sort of spoiler, I don't draft anything higher than Darmanitan and Yanmega in terms of speed. So Sticky Webs is kind of a core strategy for the team. Seismitoad is a fantastic Stealth Rock setter. It's got a 4x weakness to Grass, which I've covered up in my Yanmega, Darmanitan, and Rotom-Mow already. So I'm not super scared, and I can sort of see how the team is synergizing quite a bit at this point. I'm excited to use Seismitoad again. I didn't use it fantastically on the Rain Team that I had in DBA. I think it's going to function a lot better in this format, especially granted, given all the coverage options that it gets. I think it's going to be pretty solid on the team. Next up was Duosion. I ended up dipping down into Tier 5 as early as I possibly could to grab Duosion because I think this thing is pretty much a beast in Tier 5, honestly. Like, just look at that. It's got the same special attack set as Reuniclus, same speed. It lacks the bulk that Reuniclus gets, but it is able to run a Violate. I don't have the dark coverage yet. Excuse me. Slurpuff is kind of my answer to dark moves at the moment, but even just using this thing as a regenerator pivot can be pretty useful, and firing off big Psyshocks and Psychics is always helpful. It's going to be named Xavier. Professor X, I thought that this kind of reminded me a lot of Professor X and X-Men, and again, I think I've talked about this in other things. I'm kind of big into Marvel at the moment, and Professor X is kind of a huge character in the Marvel universe. So, yeah, Duosion, I mean, it's baby Reuniclus, right? Like, it pretty much does the same thing that Reuniclus does. Another thing to note, as I talked about before, I didn't draft anything higher than base 95 speed, so Trick Room is a very viable option on this team, and Duosion can even benefit from my own Sticky Webs as well, so pretty excited to use Duosion. I'm using Reuniclus at the moment in Nepal, which I ended up picking up a team in. Shout out to Nacho for Nepal and letting me be a replacement coach in that league. I don't necessarily consider taking over a team as me drafting those Mons though, so Reuniclus is still at the very top of my list on Mons that I want to draft personally and sort of be able to build a team around, because I don't think, especially in Nepal, the team that I have doesn't really work around Reuniclus super well, so we'll sort of see how that goes. Anyways, Duosion, Baby Reuniclus, that's kind of all you got going on there. Next up, I grabbed Shelmet. Shelmet wasn't actually on the tier list, but it is an amazing mon that you see a lot drafted in points drafts. It's an amazing, bulky bug type. Um, Pretty much one of the better Violet users in this format, I would say, is also a really good hazard setter. So, notably, I have webs and rocks at the moment, but Shelmet gets spikes and T-spikes. So we've covered every single hazard at the moment. Shelmet's really slow. It's not really going to do anything attacking-wise, but it is another pivot. It does get U-turn, so it can sort of set up hazards U-turn out sort of thing. Gets knockoff. It's a really good utility Pokemon on the team that I'm excited to use. I've used a Selgor a few times. Wow, I've drafted a Selgor maybe 4 times at this point, actually. A Selgor is definitely on the top of my list on utility mons that I love drafting. I think Shelmet fits just a bulkier role of its evolution. Not much to say about Shelmet, honestly, and most of these mons are sort of niche in the first place, so drafting them in Tier 3 and below league doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have more to talk about. Yeah, so that's Shelmet. Next up, we grabbed Porygon 2. I have no idea why this thing was still sitting there in round 8, and I definitely screwed up the formatting on the slide, my bad. It has 3 fantastic abilities, and it is the bulkiest of boys. Porygon 2 actually has pretty amazing stats for middle evolution, and I'm really excited to use Porygon 2. I really wanted Porygon Porygon Z in round 1, which was sniped for me by Nacho, so shoutouts to Nacho again for sniping me on Porygon Z, but I ended up getting Darmanitan, which I think was a better grab. P2 is fantastic. We're nicknaming it Ban TJ. Oh, I forgot to talk about why Shelmet was nicknamed Knight. It just looks like a knight. That's pretty much the only reason. TJ, shout out to TJ. He's unfortunately no longer part of the community, I don't think, but he was an amazing coach in LET Season 1, and he ended up recording all of my matches that I uploaded for LET Season 1, which you guys can check it on the channel if you feel like doing that. That was it's a Wi-Fi league that I'm still part of, LET, the League of Historian Trainers, but we just don't upload that anymore. I'm finished my Season 2. We're heading into the finals of Season 2 of LET at the moment. Big ups to Eco and ST for making finals in LET. Wish you guys both the best. If you're watching this, which if you happen to be watching this, then that's kind of weird because I don't think you guys ever watch a lot of my stuff, except if you were battling me, but that's totally besides the point. Anyways, P2, Trace, Download, Analytic, all fantastic abilities. Trace lets you copy things like Beast Boost. I know I've seen Beast Boost shenanigans in Kyle A's battle against A-Drive in APA. Download is great because you can get an attack boost or a special attack boost based on which defense is weaker, and Analytic is fantastic because P2 is so slow. Analytic doesn't really work with sticky webs very well, but besides that, it's a really good ability if you're just trying to hit things hard. Again, P2 has fantastic stats across the board. It's only weak to fighting, which I have covered in my Yanmega already, and Slurpuff, and in Duosion, so I'm really excited about Porygon 2. It can switch in on the ghost attacks that Duosion doesn't want to take either. So yeah, Porygon 2, pretty fantastic mon. I'm really excited for this. It's another Trick Room setter as well, so the Trick Room strat is still alive. Next up in round 9, I ended up grabbing Machamp. I was sniped on Pangoro, I think the round before in round 8. Pangoro would have fit this team amazingly well. Parting Shot support for this team could have been so fantastic. But I just wanted a really hard-hitting fighting type, and Machamp was still sitting there. Base 130 attack is no joke, once again. It's a status absorber for things that don't want to be statused. I've got quite a few things that don't want to be toxic. Porygon 2 is the main one. Duosion is also another really good status absorber. That's sort of on my list of things to grab in drafts now, is a good status absorber. Because, you know, there's certain things you don't want to get Will-O-Wisps. Darmanitan can switch on the Will-O-Wisps. Machamp can actually do it now as well with Guts. No Guard boosted Dynamic Punches is quite a big threat, and Machamp in Trick Room is no joke either. It's very slow. The rest of its stats are pretty decent, besides its special attack. It's decently bulky, and fighting is an okay bulky type. It's another good dark switch-in for, it's a very good dark switch-in and a very good knockoff switch-in for things like P2 and Duosion at the moment. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Machamp. I think it's going to be really cool. I've seen Machamp put in work in DBA Season 1 with, oh god, what was his name? Mewtwo before he dropped the league. Yeah, pretty niche picks coming up so far. Steadfast is not a very good ability on Machamp when you've got Guts and No Guard available to you. Round 10, I ended up grabbing my last Tier 5, I think. Yeah, in Palossand. Palossand really probably shouldn't have been a Tier 5. I definitely didn't suggest it. But I wasn't planning on drafting on it, so drafting it. So there you go. How I Met Your Mother, Sandcastles in the Sand. Pretty cool song by Robin Sparkles, and that's where it gets its name from. Water Compassion is a really cool ability. I don't necessarily want to switch it in on water types because it is a ground type, but really bulky on the physical side and a pretty decent special attacker. It's got some good options in Earth Power, Shadow Ball, and then it gets some coverage options, things like Giga Drain. I actually haven't investigated too much what else it gets. I drafted this in Mount Silver Season 2, and then I ended up dropping it for something else later. Chinchino, I think I dropped it for. Which, you know, didn't pay off for me in that season. I made semis and then lost out, but yeah. Palosande's going to be pretty cool on the team. It's another rocker, which helps out Seismitoad a little bit. Means I don't have to bring rocks on Seismitoad all the time. Well, another good thing about Palossand is that it gets really cool option in Shore Up to get some reliable recovery, so you don't have to run leftovers all the time, or even if you are running leftovers, you get some reliable recovery in there. I believe it heals 75% in Sun, so there is one Sun team. We don't play it. We don't play Magic in his Sun team at all, I don't think. Unless we make playoffs, I don't think we play him. But that's what's going on with Palossand there. And then next up and last on the list was Rampardos. I had enough free points to pick up a tier 4 with my last pick. And Rampardos is another massive threat. Again, these things that have no switch-ins that are on my team is just insane. I don't see very many switch-ins to Machamp. I don't see many for Yanmega. I don't see many for Rampardos. And I don't see many for Darmanitan. To an extent, you could also say that there's pretty much no switch-ins to P2 in the format either. Same with W.A.I.L.O.R.D. I think this team is extremely scary. Base 165 attack. This is on the top 10 Mons in total base attack in the entire game. Another slow Mon, but it has access to Rock Polish, which I think is kind of neat tech if I don't want to rely on Sticky Webs and whatnot. Rampardos is fairly lacking on the special side in terms of attacking stat, but Sheer Force boosted Fire Blast can still hurt like a truck. It's sort of like Tauros in that way, except it actually hits a little bit harder than Tauros on that side. Mold Breaker Earthquakes is kind of cool. Being able to break through Sturdy, I mean, honestly, Rampardos just clicks Head Smash and it claims a kill pretty much every single time as well. So that's kind of rounding out the draft. Again, I really think that I have no switch-ins to this team. Now we'll sort of talk about our Z users to finish off the draft recap here. All of my tier 5s were allowed to be Z users, so Duosion, Shelmet, and Palossand are all Z users automatically. And then on top of that, I used 30 of my free points to give Yanmega and Rampardos both Z capabilities. I could have opted to not do that, and instead of Rampardos, I could have taken a tier 3, but I didn't want to do that. I ended up looking at the tier 3s left, and there weren't a ton of great tier 3s, honestly. Like, Rampardos sort of fit the team a little bit better. It was another rock setter, which I really wanted, and I was missing the rock typing so far, so that's kind of why I picked up Rampardos there. I'm still missing a few typings, but, you know, I don't really care too much about it. It's actually a poison resist as well for the Slurpuff, which is kind of cool, along with Palossand, which I didn't have previously, so... Yeah, Yanmega with Z, gross, tinted lens, Savage Spin Out is disgusting. Same with Supersonic Sky Strike. There's no switch-ins to it, honestly, Z that. And then Z Head Smash, by the way, is a thing that exists. I don't have to miss a Head Smash. I can run Rocky MZ Head Smash and just crank something to death with Rampardos. So, you know, I didn't have a ton to talk about in this draft breakdown. It's tier 3 and below league. I'm excited to show off how the team functions. Sorry, I just dropped my phone. I don't know if you guys could hear that or not. Playing a few of our old friends. We are playing Jed. We're playing his brother Zach. Who else do we play in this league? We end up playing Jay. We're going to play Ben, who you guys may remember from AABL. Good friend of mine, Ben. He's also in NCL. We play Austin, who we all know, I'm sure, from all of my stuff, and we're going to play Dom, so just sort of clicking through all my weeks there. Yeah, it's going to be a fun season. I'm really excited for it. It's sort of a league to not really take seriously. That's kind of why the whole W.A.I.L.O.R.D thing started. I mean, W.A.I.L.O.R.D started as a meme in UPBA, and we all sort of just embraced it as a league. So, yeah, really excited to start off the league. You guys should see my team builder for Jed going up soon-ish. Week 1 starts next week, so Team Builder will go up before my match, obviously, next week against Jed. And, yeah, welcome to W.A.I.L.O.R.D.